Hey everybody, welcome back to Penny Prep. In today's video, we're going to be talking to Torri Kugle, owner-operator of WHOOPS Roadside Assistance. Torri, would you like to introduce your company at all?
Yep, this is WHOOPS Roadside Assistance. We do fuel deliveries, tires, lockouts, jump starts, and more. And I launched in June of this year.
Alright, welcome back. Like I said, we're going to be talking to the owner-operator, Torri Kugle of WHOOPS Roadside Assistance. He went over a brief introduction of the services he provides. Torri, would you like to give us a little bit more in depth of what you provide?
Yeah, well, we got refuels, that's a no-brainer. You run out of fuel, I bring fuel to you. Tires, if you blow a tire and you need help changing your spare, I can come out and do that. Or if it needs a plug or something like that, I can do that as well. But there are some things I can't do, like tire installations, and I'm not to the point yet where I'm selling tires, but I plan to get there, so I could be full tire services eventually. Lockouts, if you lock your keys in your car, we can come out and do that. And jump starts, it's also a no-brainer. Your battery's dead, we can come out and jump it for you.
Awesome. Alright, that's some pretty awesome stuff. I know that you said that you hope to expand on getting tires and wish to make that a better service. Is there anything else that you wish to expand upon for your upcoming services?
Yeah, as the business grows and I start getting employees in multiple locations, what I plan to do is also get some wreckers and rollbacks and stuff like that. So if you break down, we can come out and pick you up, take you wherever, as well as mobile mechanics. Like, let's say a tractor trailer breaks down, or you're driving and your alternator breaks down or something like that, or starter doesn't work anymore, and you'd like a mechanic to come out and fix all that. We could do that with our big service truck. Plan on getting a couple service trucks and some mechanics to come out and do some roadside mechanic work as well.
Awesome, that sounds fantastic. Can't wait to see that come out in the future.
Yeah.
All right, that's pretty good stuff. What would you say your most common call for service is?
Well, I started in June 7th, and so I've been around for almost 3 months now, and the least common call is for refills. I've only done 2 of those, but I think the most common is probably tires. I'd say tires and jump starts, followed by lockouts.
Awesome. All right, those are pretty good topics. Is there anything that you've noticed that when you get called out to, the person typically could have easily prevented having to even call you?
Number one for that is lockouts. I had somebody lock his keys in his van. They were right on his passenger seat. So I got the call for that, and I come out, I'm like, yeah, you could have avoided that one. I got a call for, they locked their keys in their trunk. And that's kind of understandable. If you're getting groceries or getting something out of the trunk, your keys fall out of your pocket, or you just drop your keys and didn't realize it. That's a pretty easy mistake.
Fair enough.
Lockouts could be the most avoidable.
Fair enough. All right, Torri, those are some pretty good topics so far. What would you say that your inspiration for the business was?
Well, I used to work for PennDOT. There's a company in Harrisburg here called River Drive Service Center, and they had a contract with PennDOT, and what we did was they had 3 wreckers patrolling the Capitol Beltway around Harrisburg. One on 81, one on 83 behind us, you can see, and one on 581. And what we did was we just drove around, and if we saw somebody on the shoulder of the highway, we'd pull in behind them and see if we could help at all. And anything we did for them, it was a free service through the state. And also, we were out there to keep the highway safe, pretty much. Like if there was a dead deer or roadkill or something, we'd have an arrow board on our truck. We'd flip it up and direct traffic to a different lane so we could get out and shovel whatever's in the highway up. And accidents, we would do traffic control for accidents and stuff like that. So once I started getting into that, I did that for 3 years, and I'm like, you know what? I used to own a business, and I'm tired of being an employee. I want to start another business. And I'm like, well, okay, roadside is what I know how to do. So here we go. That's roadside.
Hey, Torri, you said that you did it for 3 years. What occurred or what happened that the safety patrol disbanded?
Well, the safety patrol didn't get disbanded. So the way it worked was my employer, River Drive, had the contract through PennDOT. And it was a program sponsored by State Farm. So at the end of that contract, State Farm decided that they're not going to sponsor it anymore. And also another much bigger company that does exclusively the highway patrol, they came in and underbid my boss. And they patrol like 11 different states, so they're really big. And they're like, okay, we can afford to underbid this guy. My boss lost the contract, so I stayed on with River Drive, and this new company hired me on as well. And they had so many different rules, and I went in there, and I was so used to doing things my way that when I went in there and started doing things my way, they're like, okay, we need to call you in our office. This is how we do things here at this company. I'm like, okay. So after I was on my way to an accident scene, and I was behind the trooper in traffic because the troopers usually like us to follow them. And I was following the trooper, and I had to close 2 different on-ramps. And a day or 2 later, the big boss called me in. He's like 2 below the owner of the big company. He's like, hey, yeah, so we have cameras all over the truck, and it's live, so they can watch it live in the office. And they brought it in and showed me everything. They're like, okay, so you did this and this and this wrong, and we had to call you in before as well. I'm like, yeah. They said, well, that's not how we do this, this, or this. They said, so we're going to have to let you go. I'm like, whatever. So that's no big deal because I stayed on with River Drive, and I still work for them today on an as-needed basis. But the safety patrol is still out patrolling 83 behind us, 81 and 581. So if you're ever out there and you see a truck that says PennDOT Safety Patrol on it, if anything happens to your car, they can take care of you, and it's a free service through the state.
Awesome. Well, it sounds like one door closed, another open, and look, it all worked out for the better.
Yep.
All right, awesome stuff so far. Are there any short-term and long-term goals that you have planned for yourself and or the company coming up?
Well, my first short-term goal was financial, and I wanted to gross $1,000 within the first year that I opened. I did that within the first month and a half, I think. So I hit that goal. Another goal of mine is, I wrote it down somewhere. I think I said within the 3rd year, be able to quit all of my jobs and run the business and only do the business, and have 2 or 3 service vehicles within, I think, the 3rd year is what I wrote down. To have more than 1 service vehicle and have employees and be able to run the business without having any other jobs. Long term, I'd say have multiple locations with multiple vehicles, and go from making thousands to making millions.
Awesome. Sounds like a fantastic plan. We hope to see you grow to it.
Yeah, I think it'll happen.
Fingers crossed.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say your proudest moment for the company and or yourself is?
Okay, I'll go over myself first. My proudest moment in the roadside industry. A couple times I was patrolling the highway, and I saw a car on the side of the highway, and I stopped, and it was an elderly lady, and she was kind of leaning over her steering wheel like this. I'm like, that's not good. I'm going to stop and check on her. So I stopped and checked on her. She was sweating real bad, and she didn't know where she was. I'm like, I think her blood sugar dropped. And then she was like, where am I at? Where am I going? I'm like, are you okay? She's like, yeah, I'm just lost. So I said, have you eaten anything? She's like, eaten anything? She's like, I'm diabetic. I'm like, okay, it's confirmed. So I got on the radio because we had radios directly to the traffic management center, and those are the people that have the big office with the huge TVs, and they watch all the traffic cameras in the entire state. So I radioed them. I said, hey, we need an ambulance out here. I got a diabetic lady, her blood sugar dropped real low. So ambulance was there probably within 5-10 minutes, and they pulled her out of the car, and they determined that she wasn't good to drive, so they took her to the hospital. Another time was I was dispatched by Traffic Management Center to a tractor trailer. He was off on the shoulder, but his trailer was just a little bit in the lane. So I pulled in behind him, and I got up in his truck, and I have my Class A CDL. I drive tractor trailer, and I got up, knocked on his window, and I said, hey, you need any help? He's like, he seemed like he was very out of it. I said, okay, how much air pressure do you have? If you have air pressure, I can have you put it in neutral, and I can push your truck with my record. And he's like, I said, where's your air pressure? He's like, right there. I'm like, that's your fuel gauge. It's not your air pressure. So I said, your air pressure. I need to know your air pressure. I said, okay, there's your air pressure gauge. You have good air pressure. And then I'm like, can you start the truck? And he didn't know what he was doing. So I got out of the truck, or got down off the truck, and I looked at the front of it. I'm like, okay, this looks real damaged. I think he may have been in an accident. So I called Traffic Management Center. I said, hey, can we get a trooper out here? This guy's acting really weird, and there's some damage to his truck. I said, I don't know what's going on. So the trooper came out, and the trooper talked to him for a couple seconds, and the trooper's like, this guy's really weird. He said, I'm getting an ambulance out here. Well, I didn't know he made that decision, because Traffic Management Center called me, and they're like, hey, there's a car needs a jump start real quick, like a mile behind you. I'm like, okay, I'll go do it quick. So I loop around, go back, help that guy. And when I got done with that, I came back to the scene where the tractor trailer was, and I saw that River Drive had their big heavy wreckers out there, and an ambulance was there. So when we all got back to the shop, one of my coworkers was like, yeah, that trooper said that you really saved that guy. I guess he was having really bad medical issues, and if I wouldn't have called the trooper, it could have been a lot worse. Awesome. So I called the trooper because I didn't know. I'm like, is this guy drunk, or is he having medical issues, or what? I'm like, is this medical, or is this more of a legal issue? So I'm like, I'll call the trooper, because they'll get whoever they need out here. So those are some pretty proud moments on personal proud moments out on the highway. Proud moments with this. So coming from working out on the highway and doing things for free with the state, I made a policy, and as I grow, it's going to be in the employee handbook that all employees should follow as well. That if they're out somewhere, and if they see somebody that appears to need help and they're not currently on the way to a paying customer, pull over and see if they can assist. And I've done, I think, a total of 4 of those so far. And one actually this morning on the way to this interview. Just before the exit to get off to come here, there was a guy with a trailer, and I saw he was out there with a breaker bar trying to break some lug nuts loose, and it was a really big heavy trailer. And I pulled up. I'm like, that guy needs help. And I'm like, I'm in my service vehicle. All right, I'll pull over. He walks up to me. I'm like, you need any help? He's like, my boss is on the way with an impact and a jack and everything. I'm like, I got all that. I can help you real quick. He's like, how much you charging? I'm like, it's on the house. I said, we have a policy that if we see someone who needs help, we pull over and help them, and it's on the house. I said, it's a pretty good way to advertise as well. Not only advertise, but also everyone will be like, oh yeah, this company really cares about the customers, not just about money. It's about, because that's what roadside assistance is all about, going out and helping the customer and getting them back on the road as quick and safely as possible. So I also learned that after River Drive lost that contract on the highway, the new company also left a case of water in the trucks. And they always said, hey, this isn't your water, this is for the customer. So since then, I have a case of water in there too, just in case I come across someone that's a little thirsty.
Awesome.
So,
Sounds like a fantastic business principle to have.
yeah.
All right, Torri, is there an inspiration or a reason for the name WHOOPS Roadside Assistance?
Yep. Well, I wanted to meet some criteria with the name. I wanted it to be easily recognizable, easy to remember, and very commonly used word. And, well, that's very commonly used word. And it goes great with roadside assistance. Like, oh, whoops, locked my keys in my car. A lot of people would say, oh, locked my keys in the car. But that wouldn't look too professional. So.
Yeah, I don't think you can make it, roadside assistance.
So I looked up Oops. I was going to go with Oops. But then I see there were a couple of those out there already. There's one in Florida, it's Oops Lockout. They're a locksmith. And there's Oops in Michigan, I think it is. It's they do recovery, off-road recovery. I'm like, well, I don't want to use the name Oops, so I looked up Whoops. And I didn't find anything. I'm like, all right, it's going to be Whoops. And because it goes great with roadside assistance. Oh, hit a curb, blew my tire, whoops. Whoops, left my key in the ignition, the battery's dead. Whoops, locked my keys in the car. Call Whoops Roadside Assistance. And with the logo design was pretty cool. I have a graphic designer, and I gave him an idea of what I wanted. I said, I want the O's to be tires. So he had a couple of tire designs. I'm like, I don't like that. I don't like that one either. I said, can you kind of like turn them to the side a little bit and make them more like off-road or something, or show the tread on them? And he came up with that. I'm like, that's the logo. And he put the cone in the W as well. I'm like, okay, yeah, you're good. This is why I hired you. So it's that's the inspiration behind the name. It goes well with roadside. It's easy to remember, and that's
Awesome.
inspiration.
Good stuff. All right, Torri, if you could get one message out to the viewers today, what would that be?
You take care of your car, it'll take care of you. And if something happens that you can't control, we're 24 hours. Call Whoops Roadside Assistance.
All right, Torri, what would you say that your coverage area is approximately?
I'd say Harrisburg, Hershey, Lebanon, Lancaster, Carlisle, Halifax, York. And if needed, we can go as far as like State College or anywhere further out if needed, if we're not busy and somebody really needs our service and we know that we can beat somebody else there. We try to I try to get there as fast as possible and keep it as affordable as possible.
Awesome. So for any of my viewers out of state, we're going to have to wait a little while till he becomes a billionaire and hits a couple more states.
I mean, if you're in Texas and you really want my help, I'll come out. I could use a good road trip.
Yeah. The question I get a lot of times on my channel is about electromagnetic pulses. What do you think an electromagnetic pulse, whether it's caused by a coronal mass ejection from the sun or a thermonuclear bomb going off over the United States, would cause to a vehicle?
Well, I know they're pretty bad for our grid and for computers. I know I'm not really, I haven't really looked into any of that too deeply, but I'm thinking that it could really mess with a car's computer and make it not run, unless it's a car from like the 80s back. That's really just an engine and wheels. That's what I like anyways, an engine and wheels, it's easy. Something with like a mechanical fuel pump and diesel, so it doesn't need electricity to ignite, something like that. But yeah, I think it could probably affect our vehicles. Of course, like I said, I never really looked too deeply into it, and I've also never experienced it myself, so I wouldn't really know.
Yeah. knock on wood, hopefully we never have to deal with it.
Yeah.
Another question somebody had asked me was, how long can you store gas, or how long does it last before you start to have issues or it expires?
About 3 months. Yeah, 3 months, it'll start to get stale and make your engine run really bad. So it's always good to keep fresh gas in it.
All right, so a lot of my viewers have seen the movie Red Dawn, and in Red Dawn there's a scene where the communists basically are invading and they shoot at one of the vehicles, and they have to pee in their radiator to get the vehicle blown back. Is that something that's possible, or is it something that is purely movie satire?
Well, it is possible. Open the cap and do your thing. And it's great for your car. It is. It's great for your car because the ammonia and the urea in there lubricates everything in there, and it gets it going. And the smell, it's going to smell great when it comes through your vents.
What would that smell like, do you think?
Hopefully like flowers or something.
Ooh, that sounds nice. I might have to do that before I head out of here.
It depends what you drink. I mean, if you drink beer, it's probably going to smell like pine or something.
Ooh, very manly. I like the sound of that.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
All right, the last of my prepper-based questions is, what are 3 pieces of equipment that you feel as though everybody should have in their vehicle at all times?
Small jack, 4-way lug wrench, and jumper cables. And bonus, gallon gas can, unless you have a diesel, then 5-gallon diesel.
Perfect. All right. So a lot of times people that get involved in vehicle crashes, especially on the interstate, younger drivers, people that have been driving for a while, and like me, have never really been involved in a crash. What would you suggest that they do if they get involved in a crash on the interstate?
If you're involved in a crash on the interstate, the best thing to do is, if you're able, if your vehicle is able to and you're not injured, move off to the shoulder as soon as possible. If it's a crash where your vehicle is unable to move under its own power, or you're injured, or somebody else is injured, just leave it where it's at. And let law enforcement and EMTs and fire come out, and they're going to close the scene and direct traffic around it. So that's the best thing to do is get over to the side if you're able to. If you and your vehicle have the ability to get over, get over.
Right. So what you're saying is, if your wheels are locked up under your car, probably not best to drive it off the side.
Probably not. That would be something that would require a rollback to come out, and you're going to probably close some lanes down for a little bit. So.
All right, if you're driving on the interstate and you see an emergency vehicle off on the shoulder assisting somebody, such as your company, and they're helping somebody, what would you tell somebody, or what should they do if they see that vehicle?
It is the law to move over to the far lane. And if you can't, slow down as much as possible. And if a cop is sitting there and sees that you're doing neither of those, they can follow you and give you a ticket.
Awesome. All right, what should you do if you're driving and you start to experience either an engine fire or a fire in your vehicle at all?
I've done that already. Myself, I was driving and my car started like bucking real bad, and then it shut off. And I think I managed to get it started again. And I had a decision because the smoke started coming in. I'm like, my decision is either pull into that gas station or go down the on-ramp onto the interstate where there's going to be less cars, because I was on a real busy road. And get off onto the shoulder down there and get out of my car. So 2 choices, either do that or gas station. So I drove that car straight into the gas pump. So when I experienced the smoke, what I did was I decided to go down the on-ramp and get off onto the side so people could still drive by if needed. Smoke started coming in, and I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm on fire. And I didn't have an inside door handle. So I had to turn the car on before the fire got real bad and blew the battery up. So I managed to get the window down and reach out and open the door handle on the outside. I got out and looked under the car. I'm like, I'm definitely glowing. I said, I'm going to stand back and get 911 on the phone, and fire was out there pretty quickly. And yeah, so if you're experiencing fire, pull over. Even if you can't get over, just keep it right where it's at. Inconvenience whoever you need to inconvenience, because if you're on fire, get out of that car as soon as possible. I've known people that died in car fires. So yeah, get out of the car as fast as possible. If you're able, if you feel you have time to get over and get out. But if you're going up pretty quickly, just stop, get out. Because you'll probably die before the fire gets to you, because smoke inhalation. It's not pretty.
All right, another thing that a lot of people experience, because flooding is very prevalent here in Pennsylvania, is standing water or water on the roadway. What would you recommend if somebody comes across a standing body of water across the roadway, or moving water across the roadway?
Well, what I usually do is if I come across standing water, I offer it a chair. I'm like, here you go, sit down. If it's standing water and I know it's only a couple inches, I'll go through it. I don't care. But if it's any deeper than like knee deep, I won't touch it. Because there could be the water goes into the ground, and it can make the ground really soft underneath the road. So the road has a possibility of collapsing underneath your car. So unless it's like an inch or two deep, I wouldn't go through it. As for moving water over the road, don't go anywhere near it, because I forget how much force the water has, but I think 6 inches of water moving at whatever speed can push your car off course. So watch YouTube videos. You can see that there are people, oh yeah, I can go through that. They go through that, and then out of nowhere their car just floats downstream, because they underestimate the power of moving water. So I can't say that I've never gone through inches of water, because it's a puddle. Yeah. Not like if it's a creek or something like that. If there's a creek or like a pond that overflowed and it's sitting on the road, I'm like, okay, that's a pond. I'm not going to go through that. But if I'm in like a big parking lot and it's a big deep puddle, okay, yeah, let's have some fun. If it's a serious body of water like a river or a lake or a pond or whatever, don't touch it.
Turn around, don't drown. All right, everybody, thank you very much for joining me on my channel today. It was a great pleasure to have you on my channel today, Torri. I appreciate anything. Is there anything you'd like to say to the viewers before we go?
Yep. Call WHOOPS Roadside Assistance. We're available 24 hours, and we'll do our best to get you on the road as safely and as quickly as possible, and try not to hurt your wallet.
All right. Stay safe. Stay prepared.